This video has been brought to you by Utalan, a booking platform for creators, models, influencers, photographers, and more. If you need models for your next music videos, check it out. Or if you want your song featured on this channel, hit my profile on the app. And if you live in Atlanta and need a music video done for you, the first person to contact the number in my description gets one completely free of charge. In part 1, I focused on the street reasons he can't go back to Chicago. I talked about the beef between the old Blackians and Chief Keef, but in this part, I'm gonna focus on the legal reasons why he can't go. So for everyone on my nuts from part 1 saying he can't go back because of warrants, the mayor banned him, that's literally what I said part 2 is for, bro, relax. In this video, we about to break down what the mayor got against Chief Sosa and what fueled his decision to add Chief Keef to the National Fugitive Database. And to do this, I gotta give y'all the full picture. We gotta talk about the criminal history of Chief Keef. His first arrest came when he was only 15 in January 2011. Even though the details on this are scarce, we know he got busted on a Class X felony for manufacturing and delivering heroin, which he managed to only get sentenced to house arrest for. But it took under a year before Chief Keef caught another case, this time in December of 2011, where we got the infamous story of Chief Keef aiming his gun at a police officer. It was a lot of rumors and fake news surrounding this whole thing, so let me tell y'all what actually happened. Chief Keef was coming out of his apartment building when police saw him and suspected he had something on him, so they was trying to ask him some questions. And as they approached him, Chief Keef dropped his jacket, which was covering a gun, and accidentally revealed it to police. Then Sosa took off running, with the police chasing right behind him. This is where the police claimed that Chief Keef pointed a loaded pistol in their direction, and they responded by opening fire, luckily missing, before they eventually caught up with him and tackled him. But for everyone watching, let's take a guess on how much time Chief Keef did for this. Keep in mind, he was already on house arrest for a felony, and he just committed 4 more felonies. Y'all got your answer? Sorry, the correct answer was absolutely none. Damn, Chief Keef taking dub after dub. Aimed a loaded gun at police, didn't get shot, and committed 5 felonies with no jail time. BLM up too, but he skated away from jail time on both charges because he was so young when they happened. So he decided to keep him on house arrest for his first charge, and for his second one they gave him 18 months probation, which forbid Chief Keef from having any firearms, illegal drugs, or associating with gang members. But these incidents were all before his fame, back when he was just Keith Cozart. Chief Keef's first problems with police came when CPD announced that they were investigating to see if he was linked to Lil Jojo's death. This came after Lil Jojo released a song called BDK, dissing Chief Keef and other black disciples, and was assassinated a few months later, which Chief Keef reacted to by mocking him on Twitter and tweeting out #RichNiggaShit. CPD saw this and announced Chief Keef as a suspect, and Lil Jojo's mom even came out saying she thought Chief Keef had something to do with it.
Who do you think is responsible for your son's death?
Chief Keef.
You believe he himself pulled the trigger?
I don't believe himself pulled the trigger. I believe he paid somebody to do it.
What? Paid someone to do it? Now I couldn't be Chief Keef. Like he didn't literally tweet #RichNiggaShit after his death. But we never really heard about this case after this. We did keep hearing about his other cases though. And about 3 months later, we seen Chief Keef get in trouble again. He was still on probation for aiming the blammy pack at a police officer. And this is right after he dropped Love Sosa and I Don't Like. He was at the height of his fame. And Pitchfork had a new series they wanted Chief Keef to be a part of, where they get rappers to freestyle at random locations. And with Chicago being the national murder capital, Chief Keef being investigated for his connection to a murder, and him literally being on probation, they thought it would be a good idea for him to freestyle at a gun range. Pitchfork quickly took down the interview, realizing it was a dumb idea, but it was too late. The court already knew about it, and the judge forced them to turn over the unedited video, where they clearly seen Chief Keef holding and firing a gun, and gave him 2 months behind bars for this probation violation. But after he got out in March 2013, it looked like he might finally stop getting locked up. So many things were going good in his life. We seen him in Paris with Kanye West, he was on the XXL freshman list, and he just signed a $6 million deal. But it only took 2 months before Keef went back in on a whole lot of charges. You know how usually when people are driving without a license, they try to be low-key about it and follow the rules so they don't get pulled over? Well, not Chief Keef, cause he's zoomed past the cop car doing double the speed limit, going 110 in a 55, before the cop eventually pulled him over.
Well, thanks for the number, the 110? Yeah. That's you, okay? That's how fast you're going, 110. Oh, that's a fast car, that's why I bought it.
When he did 60 days in jail for the Pitchfork thing, he got off probation. But with this incident, they put him back on papers and forced him to undergo random drug tests. And as soon as the judge finished giving Chief Keef his sentence, another set of police were waiting to arrest him minutes after he got out, hitting him with a trespassing charge for being on O-Block just a few weeks before, when Boss Top and Lil Durk were filming their 30 Choppers music video that I talked about in part 1, which was the last time you seen him on O-Block. A security guard saw him there and called the police because he don't live there no more. Chief Keef later added that the police said he can't go back there, and every time he does, they're gonna arrest him, like they did right here for trespassing. But after they hit him with the trespassing charge, they finally let him go. And it didn't take but 3 months before he got locked up again. A term in his probation was he had to stay off drugs, but in October 2013, he got arrested after a random drug test came back positive for weed. The judge wasn't playing and sent Chief Keef to a 90-day rehab, which was supposed to help him get clean. And when Chief Keef got out in late February, he was a completely changed man. Now I'm just playing with you. Keef was back on his BS immediately. He dropped a song called F Rehab, posted a pic of him smoking only a week after he got out, then got arrested on a DUI. His car got stopped because he had expired tags, and when the officer came up to the car, he smelled weed. So he gave Chief Keef a sobriety test, which he failed, and Chief Keef just admitted to smoking. He even posted his mugshot on Instagram, where he flexed that he was high. So it's obvious Chief Keef was gonna get locked up. When he got out of rehab the week before, the judge literally said, "If I see you again, you're gonna be singing your praises in jail." This was the third drug test he failed, so we can only imagine how much time he was gonna get for this. Not only did he catch a DUI, but he also got charged for driving without proof of insurance and driving intoxicated with a suspended license. But when Chief Keef stood in front of a judge, he pled not guilty for this case, even though he literally admitted to being high on Instagram. But after this, he got let out on bail and never returned to Chicago or the state of Illinois again. Sosa was not trying to figure out what he would get for his third probation violation. And after he ditched court, they put out a warrant for his arrest, meaning whenever he steps foot in Illinois, he's gonna get arrested on sight. But while Chief Keef was on the run, he caught another case. His baby mama took him to court because he owed over $10K in child support. Now, of course, Chief Keef didn't show up because there was no way he was gonna go back to Chicago. He was already on Instagram flexing his brand new LA mansion. So when Chief Keef didn't show up to court, the judge issued a second warrant for his arrest. And Keef responded to these two warrants by dropping a song dissing the judge. He really just said that in the song while he had a pending case. But after a few months of trying to get him to come back to Chicago, the sheriff comes out saying that Chief Keef has a flagrant disregard for the justice system and puts Chief Keef's name in the National Fugitive Database. Basically meaning when Chief Keef gets arrested anywhere in the US and they run his name in the system, they'll see his outstanding warrants and have to notify Illinois that he's there. Usually the only time you get put in his database is if you commit treason or a violent felony. But the sheriff says they put Chief Keef there because of the resources that he has and his flagrant disregard for the justice system. But a lot of y'all might be wondering why Chief Keef hasn't gotten extradited yet. He's had tons of arrests in other states. Why didn't they ship him back? Well, the sheriff making him a fugitive seems like more of a symbolic move than anything. They aren't really gonna waste all that money and resources to lock Chief Keef up for a misdemeanor. Like, let's actually compare Chief Keef to a rapper that did get extradited, Tay-K. Chief Keef did the race like him, but only had 3 misdemeanors, while Tay-K committed 4 violent felonies, including a murder. If that's where the bar is, it's no way they're gonna extradite Chief Keef. Alright, now that we broke down all those charges, let's talk about what happened between Chief Keef and the mayor specifically. First of all, just know that the mayor, the police department, and basically any type of authority in Chicago does not like Chief Keef. They feel like he helped Chi-Rite get the reputation that it has now. When he raps about his background, just everything about him embodies what they hate. And they made him the face for violence in Chicago. They say he was the reason for the rise in gang violence. And according to his management, the CPD has a task force of several officers assigned to strictly investigate Chief Keef's GBE label and its affiliates. When Chief Keef dropped his Finally Rich album, the police went out in the city tearing down posters for it, and it gave anyone who hung a poster a citation. And their reasoning for this was because Chief Keef was being hailed as a hero, and they called the posters a smack in the face to officers in the area. And according to Chief Keef, the police will literally not allow him to perform in Chicago. They even canceled his Put the Guns Down concert. Alright, now that I gave y'all all that background, let's actually break down the situation. It started in July 2015, when Keef's good man GBE Capo was visiting Chicago and got shot in the back of the head in broad daylight. The gunman proceeded to flee the crime scene, got in a high-speed chase with police, and ran into a 13-month-old baby before they were apprehended. After the situation went down, Chief Keef decided to have a virtual concert in Chicago to raise money for the family of that 1-year-old child. He wouldn't actually be there because of warrants. It would be a hologram of Chief Keef performing while he's in LA controlling it. They decided to have a free concert with $50 donations heavily encouraged, and with the concert being live streamed worldwide. The show was set and ready to go, but a few days before it happened, the mayor put pressure on the venue to cancel Chief Keef's Stop the Violence concert, saying Chief Keef was an unacceptable role model who promotes violence. Keef knew there was no way they were going to let him have that concert in Chicago or anywhere in the state of Illinois, so him and his team decided to reschedule it for 2 weeks later in a whole nother state, Indiana. They make the venue a secret, and even had Chief Keef tweet out the wrong address to get the police off their backs. Chief Keef's management even claims that the mayor's team called the guy producing the show and told him, "Tell us where it is now or we're gonna make your life incredibly difficult." But they didn't find out, and Chief Keef thought he finessed the entire system. He couldn't have a show in Chicago, so they moved 1 state over to Indiana, thinking everything is good. They can't stop me in a whole nother state. And Chief Keef performed for a grand total of 3 minutes. He started off the show with "I Don't Like," had a message asking fans to stop the violence, then boom, the police pulled the plug on the entire event, literally.
Stop the violence, stop the killing, stop the nonsense, let the kids go up. Now Chicago, you ready for a show? Let's go. Let's go!
They turned off power for the entire venue, so Chief Keef's hologram disappeared. 20 cops and bulldozers raided the event, forcing everyone to leave. All because the mayor who shut down Chief Keef's show in Chicago called in some favors in Indiana and had them shut down the whole thing. Chief Keef was public enemy number 1. Before this, when the mayor canceled Chief Keef's other concert, he didn't say anything. But this time he came out swinging. He did an interview with Billboard where he said, and I quote, "If you ask me, the mayor with a sandpaper dick, say it like that." What? But Chief Keef also said that he was gonna run for mayor of Chicago, and the billionaire who was backing him in this whole hologram show came out saying that the mayor of Chicago was trying to squash the voices of inner city kids, and even got someone to streak in front of the mayor for $250,000. But with the hologram concert cancellation, and them literally crossing state lines to make sure Chief Keef can't perform, it's clear how the higher-ups in Chicago feel about him. So it makes sense for him to never want to go back. I think the reason he doesn't go back is a mixture of everything. He don't want to go to jail for the warrants, cause there's no telling how much time is gonna be added since he evaded them for 6 years. And cause of the reasons we broke down in part 1. How he had a falling out with some Oblagians, and even though they made up, he doesn't know if he could fully trust them again. Plus, he's not only a target for the mayor and police, he's also a huge target for his ops. Keep in mind that his cousin Blood Money and his man's Capo both died while visiting Chicago. So as a multi-millionaire, why would he want to risk jail time or something worse happening just to hang out on some dirty government assisted housing? But if y'all enjoyed that video, do me a favor and smash the like button. We halfway to 100K, so make sure y'all sub. But other than that, I'm most sizing them out.